got all the Iron Skillet. I heard we got Cliche to the left of me, Master Logue. We got T-Clem TV on the boards. We got Bullwhip over there in the corner.
Big whoop.
We got special guest Frosty here. He's going to talk a little bit about his music, some upcoming videos, and all the dope stuff that he's got going on. But before we get into all of that, we're going to talk a little bit about should you get paid to perform. And I know Brandon has been itching to say some things about this, so
I've been ready to sound off.
I might let you open it up.
So, I guess this all started because we did a show last weekend, the Big Ten Showcase, put on by Tickle Black Affiliates. Shout out to Shaban for setting that up. Also, shout out Rucka Rucka Entertainment for setting that up. But I guess somebody made a post, and and a lot of artists chimed in on it, saying that they should get paid to perform this and that. And I definitely agree that artists should get paid to perform, but I don't think that people realize that there's levels to it.
I feel it.
I don't even know how to start on this, but if you're an artist that brings a crowd, and what I mean by a crowd is at least like no less than 20. Like 20 is a small crowd. Like I think I'd consider a crowd like 40 to 50. Like at least pack half the club. And those artists, I say, should get paid to perform.
Should at least get the door fee.
Right. Well, some of the door. Right. But okay, all right. So there's a lot of different aspects you want to look at this. Like I've done this in both aspects. I've been the performer. I've been the promoter. So let me talk about it from the artist standpoint. If you're not bringing a crowd, how's the promoter making money off you just bringing yourself and one other person or this or that? It's not really doing anything, so you're not really generating anything. So to compensate that, what some promoters do is they call it the pay to perform or pay to play, however you want to look at it. So you'll pay for a slot, 50, 100, whatever it is, but they're going to give you an amount of tickets to make your money back, double your money, however many, maybe you could triple your money, whatever. You can slang them tickets to make your money back, which honestly, I think is it's great for the promoter. It's great for the artist. The artist makes money. The promoter gets what they want in the crowd and the ticket sales. So they're not just paying or getting somebody to come perform and bring in their 5 to 10 fans.
Yeah.
So I think that is a really good scheme, and I think it works especially in smaller markets like the Winchester area. Of course, you go down to DC, they're going to pay artists to perform.
Yeah.
And they're bigger venues. It's a bigger market.
Yeah.
In a smaller market like this, it's tough. So the pay-to-play scheme, I think, works, and I think it is fair for both parties. Now, from the promoter standpoint, I've done that. It's a lot of headache, hassle, and money up front. I had to pay. You got to pay for the venue. If the venue doesn't have security, you got to hire security. And more cases than not, depending on the venue you get, whether it's a club or it's like a VFW or whatever, you might have to pay to get sound there.
Yeah.
That's a lot of hoops to jump through just to throw a show. So off rip, the promoter's making calls, putting out money, this and that, and that's what I think the artists don't understand is all the time and money that these promoters put into these shows. They think, oh, I'm the artist, I'm entertaining, I should get paid. Well, in turn, look what all the promoters doing. You know what I mean? So if you're not bringing a crowd,
yeah,
he's losing.
Yeah.
What's y'all's take on it?
I agree with you, man. Oh, damn. Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I feel like, that just goes into the business side of things. You can have a dream, an idea about something, and then it's like, wait, here's how we actually do it. Let's actually see the practicality of how we put this in motion, because, not so much the money, but the time, you know what I mean? You can't really, you can't get the time back. So if you put, it's more time than anything. You have to take the time to call this person. If you've ever put a show together, like you said, when there's multiple people involved, it's like, you have to call this person. Are you going to be here? Yes. Okay. You know, it's just so many things that could go wrong then, you know, to actually get to the point where you're getting people to come to the door. That shouldn't even be a question. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're not able to bring a crowd in or, you know, have people that are excited to see you, why would you want to get paid in the first place? And why would you expect to get paid? But there's also, you know, there's other ways to get paid too. I mean, you know, there's the bar. You know, a lot of places will let you get the bar if the door, like let them get the door, they get the bar. But it depends on the type of venue you're doing. Like what you were saying before, I know you guys were trying to do a lot of things with Shenandoah that fell through. So I can only imagine.
That was a show that was put on by Shenandoah, and it got shut down obviously because Waka Flocka had some issues down in Atlanta, and WPD shut that shit down.
Yeah, because look how many. I mean, think of something like that. You know, you talking about a local artist. Most artists aren't even thinking of doing things like that. So I applaud you guys on that. But
appreciate it.
Definitely share the insight, because I think a lot of people can learn from that for sure.
Right.
I think the whole pay to play goes both ways.
Right.
Because of course you got the artists that are who are about it, you know, who are gonna pay and sell the tickets and like do their shit. And then you got the artists who don't have any fans who are gonna pay just to go to perform, and their shit's trash. And it's just like it ruins the whole vibe of the show.
Well, that's another thing, especially when you do an event like this past weekend. There was 10 to 12 artists. Yeah. So, of course, there were some good ones. There were some, you know, ones that needed some work. But in the grand scheme of things, like, this one wasn't a pay-to-play one. So, let's just get that out the way now. But in those type of events, it's hard to tell, because there is people who bring a big crowd. There's people who don't bring a big crowd. So, moving forward, how you gonna, you know, as a promoter, you gotta pick and choose your battles. The same as the artist. You gotta pick and choose. If you feel you should be getting paid, then cool. Go ahead and find a different promoter who does that scheme. Because there's gonna be promoters out there that do the pay to play. That's what it is.
Yeah, I had some cool. So I had a couple points, and I want to say them before I forget. One thing, I think, if you're looking to get paid, something Logue brought up when we were talking about performance, talking about thinking about your set, bringing props, lighting, like a stage design, all of that stuff.
Something memorable.
Put on a show, yeah.
Yeah, people, like, you're there to entertain, and if you want to get paid to entertain, there's a certain level of expectation of what that should be like, and I think that a lot of people in small markets just don't even think that big. But it's like, if you want to be paid a certain way and seen a certain way, you got to present yourself like that. Present yourself professionally and think about those things. I think if you want to get paid, let's say you have a goal that you want to get paid, but like you haven't gotten your first paid gig yet, or you don't even know how to go about it. Maybe you do 1 or 2 trial runs with a promoter and you say, hey, like, I can guarantee you this many heads. If I do 2 shows for you and I bring this many heads in consistently, then maybe the next show we can create this type of deal, because now you're showing up and you're proving. They're seeing what you have to offer. It's not just you saying, I deserve to get paid for this.
That's a great way to approach it.
Another thing you can do is show them your stats. And that's where having your stuff on platforms and having strong engagement and following is a big thing, because you can use that to your advantage and use that as leverage. You can say, I have this following, like, I've built this up online, like, I put my time and energy into being, professional about this, and this is why I think I should get paid, not just saying, like, that you feel like you should. It's better when you have some type of, like, facts behind
collateral.
it. Yeah, some type of leverage. What do you think, Logue?
I really don't have too much to put into the topic, because I haven't done too many shows, so I really don't know the ins and outs of the shows. All I really can recollect was the times I ever performed at Valley Cat. And shout out Chris Calley, by the way. When that venue was open, it was definitely popping, and I think it was very short-lived. But Chris went about it the right way. Like, he would definitely make you pay to play, or he would give you a handful of tickets if you were on the lineup, and he would make you sell the tickets, which never really was a problem. But I want to dig into that, the marketing standpoint of hand-to-hand selling someone a ticket, because you're selling someone a ticket, they're like obligated to show up to that show, you know what I'm saying? They already paid $15, $20, however much you sell the ticket for. They're showing up to that show regardless, you know what I'm saying? And with a little bit of charm and persuasion, you can sell anyone a ticket. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's just like,
Not everybody though.
not everybody, but I mean, you know your target audience at this point. If you're an artist, go ahead, Britt.
Well, with that,
You're
with
right.
you saying you're selling the ticket, I think it's more than selling the ticket. I think when you're approaching people about trying to sell these tickets, you should be offering it as an experience.
Oh, totally.
You know, not just, hey, come out to my show. Like, yo, come out to this dope experience. I got
Good
a
point.
crazy set planned. Which you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You actually choreograph something, and don't just stand up there and do karaoke, because it's kind of embarrassing, and I cringe every time.
So
Should we bring that into
yeah,
the
I
segment
want.
right now?
Let me do it. Let me do it.
Travis.
Let me do
Okay,
it.
Travis is gonna do it.
I hate when people just play their music and just stand there
And rap over it.
and do their own ad libs.
Not
That's
even.
it. They just do their ad libs. They're just like, yeah.
Remember that one
It
guy?
distorts the audio a lot.
He had the
I
candy
haven't
store
seen that in a
pants
while.
on. Did anybody see that?
You ain't been out in a minute then.
Oh, bro.
You know, I just wanted to say, like, you guys touched on a lot of topics, a lot of, points. The one thing I wanted to say that sometimes those shows that you don't get paid for and the ones that not a lot of people come to, those are sometimes some of the most important shows. Those are the times where you work on your artist development.
Right.
Yeah.
You work on your courage in front of a crowd.
Right.
Maybe those smaller crowds don't give you as much pressure. All of a sudden, your flow came out cleaner, and your
a great
confidence
point.
went up, and you can get ready for those shows that you will get paid for one day.
Right.
It's not always such a
Pressure.
painful experience not to get paid for a show, but I do understand it's a music business, and
yeah.
Eventually you will realize that with management and with a talent agency and stuff like that, that's something that's going to be the least of your worries if you're a professional recording artist.
Yeah.
How the professionals really do it, they have teams of people working on that
Oh,
kind
yeah,
of stuff.
100%. They don't deal with
But
that
at
at all.
this level, yeah, of course, when you guys are managing your own careers and you're handling your own business and investing your own time and money, of course, you got to worry about that stuff.
100%.
But I think it's also important to remember, like, it's not always such a bad thing.
There's stepping
right?
stones to it.
As far as the artist is concerned, like, these are the times to really get that practice in, because even professional singers and shit forget their words,
Oh,
forget
yeah.
their hooks
Totally.
sometimes, like
All the time.
So it prepares you for the worst sometimes, and these are the times to get that shit out the way.
That's
I've
a
been there.
huge point.
Feeding off of that too, you touch people more when it's in a smaller environment. You know what I'm saying? You're more engaged with those few people that are in the room. Like, those people are really engaged. They're really listening to what you're saying, so they really appreciate your artistry. You know what I'm saying?
You're more inclined to gain a fan.
Exactly, a lifelong fan. We
Right.
call them
It's more of an
Super
intimate
fans.
show.
Yeah.
precisely.
If I had to
Definitely.
compare it to anything, it's kind of like those like MTV Unplugged
Exactly.
Right.
performances where it's like a lower key, more intimate setting,
Yeah.
and you get to look at your audience right in the eye.
Yeah,
And you're not just looking at the masses. You know what I'm saying? It's a different feel, and I feel like people appreciate that. You gain more fans that way. Smaller, but
smaller venues.
100%.
Wiz Khalifa, we just talked about that on a couple of episodes ago, right?
Yeah.
How, like, he was performing in front of 2 people, and he's
Oh, yeah.
Wiz Khalifa, but that was the beginning of his career. So
Yeah.
I think that's really cool.
I think people take for granted these small shows and these shows that you don't get paid for. Of course, everybody thinks they're the best, which especially if you're a rapper, you should think that and you should have that mentality. But people take for granted these shows because of the practice you do get and standing up in front of a crowd and being able to, perform your songs. That definitely gets taken for granted a lot.
100%.
Another point for people who do want to make money, get some merch.
Yeah.
Step out with some merch. Pull
Oh,
up
yeah.
to these shows.
Yeah, why
Like,
not?
sure, you're not getting paid to perform, but if people fuck with you, they'll buy your merch. If people rock with, you know what I mean? I think that's another huge
100%.
point.
Like Jonathan Brown.
Oh yeah.
He always pulls up in merch, and like we've seen people at Sweet Nolos like see him perform for the first time. They're like, "Holy shit, this dude's awesome!
And just
I need to
bought
buy a
his shit
T-shirt."
for no
Yeah.
reason,
I bought a
yeah.
poetry book from him.
Right.
Yeah.
Just to show love, and people do that. People will show love and show support.
Yeah.
When they see you're out there grinding, doing little shows like that,
Yeah.
it's even more like you're like, "Damn, this dude is like about it." Like,
He was very sentimental.
Yeah.
His set list was really long. You basically got to hear his whole chronological timeline of his life, and that really touched
See,
a lot of people.
and it was a show. It wasn't just him performing songs. Like he
It was very
choreographed a
theatrical.
show.
It reminded me of like
He had
theater.
talking points in between each song that led into the other songs. It was an experience.
Yeah.
It just wasn't him rapping his songs.
Right.
Yeah.
And people like those are things that people take for granted or overlook when they do have a show.
I agree with you, 100%.
I kind of want to sum up my thoughts. I'm not saying that you shouldn't get paid to perform. I'm saying that you need to work up to getting paid to perform, and there are local artists at that level that do get paid to perform and should get paid, but some artists need to understand that there's more practice that needs to be done. There's levels to it. Exactly.
It's almost like knowing your place. Know your place.
Mm-hmm.
But
Well,
kind of an asshole way to say it. but-
yeah,
No,
yeah,
but somebody's got to say it. I'm like, people don't hear this shit.
Just
no
gotta
beating around the bush.
build
Their
up.
friends don't tell them this shit.
It's like
Raw, uncut,
build up
iron
to it.
skillet shit.
build up to it for sure.
Y'all got any last thoughts on this topic?
Y'all covered a lot already, and I agree with most of it. You know,
I love the practice point, and that's how I look at
Yeah,
most of these
absolutely.
shows. Like, it's practice. Like,
yeah, we even we're going to Blue Fox to do practice because they do.
Yeah, they got
mics
open mics on
So
Sundays.
just go there and practice. I mean, it's just a bunch
you know,
of old,
shame.
even a
dudes in
freestyle
there,
in your
you know?
friend's basement is practice.
Yeah,
But like
exactly.
on a stage, you're putting yourself in that position where
Right.
one day you can actually start making money.
Absolutely.
You know,
And
I wanna
build
touch
your,
on-
build your own character and your persona.
I want to touch on another thing too for people who go in unprepared to like perform at a show that is different than recording. Like, you know what I'm saying? If you're not practicing those breath patterns frequently, like 2 weeks in advance before the show date, you're gonna fuck up. You're gonna be out of breath. Like, it's just like preparing for a football game, you know what I'm saying? You're using the same amount of energy that you would on a basketball court or on a football field, performing those things, and that goes unnoticed, and like people really take that shit for granted, but artists really put out a lot of energy when performing. So think about that next time you watch somebody perform.
I got a Trav's tip of the day.
Do it.
For it.
When you're with your engineer and you record your shit, ask him for a performance track.
oh fuck yeah!
Great way to
Track.
wrap that up.
What is that?
Take your verse out.
Yeah.
Leave
Mute
the
that
hook
verse.
in or mute the verse.
Oh, I get what you're saying.
Leave the hooks
Get
in.
a performance track so when you go to do a show, you're not rapping over top of your mixtape.
There you go.
Sheesh.
Nothing
A lot of people
irks
can't
me
do that
more
shit.
than hearing karaoke
Yeah.
at a rap show.
It's not even it's worse than karaoke because you're rapping over top of you rapping, so it's just blown out. The whole-
It's very distorted.
You know what gets me too?
so ask your engineer for your performance.
It's like you're
tracks
rapping, you're
while
doubling
you're
over
there.
top of your double.
They
and then
probably
they still run out of breath.
they probably won't mind just muting you and bouncing that shit and just giving it to you, but you never know.
Hey, one last thing. I just want to say one last thing. You know, at a lot of these shows, a lot of people don't show up. Let's just be real.
Yeah.
Like some of these shows, there's 50 people, maybe even less. Make the most of your opportunity. Get your buddy to record it on your phone, and go back and watch it. Watch the game film and see ways that you can get better. That's what I like to do. I gave my phone to Logo over the weekend. Trav was like, "You want me to record?" I was like, "Nah, don't even worry about it. Just get some pictures." And I
get a look
watched
here.
that, and I'm like, "Man, I could have did this better," or "Damn, I missed my breath right there." You know, it is a lot of practice.
Can I have a Logan tip before we end?
No, that's my segment.
All right.
We just giving
I'm
tips.
just kidding.
Give tips out for free
So
tonight.
one thing that I found that works really good, all right? You spot a couple, like a man and a woman,
Oh, here we go.
and you look the woman right in the eyes while you're rapping.
Tell them. Tell them.
Look them right in the eyes when you're rapping.
You tell them.
And she think, what? Huh? You tell him,
What'd you say?
you leaving with him?
Oh!
Nah, yo.
All right, so going off of our last topic, I think doing those type of shows is a good way to build connections. And I kind of want to do like a broad ways to build connections, because not everybody does hip hop or music, but of course we do. So let's try and
Mix it up.
bridge. Yeah, we'll try and bridge the gap. But in the show we just did, that was a great way to build connections. So in a general sense, you want to one way to build connections is go to these events that cater to whatever it is you're doing or whatever your grind is. In our case, it was a hip hop show, or Shaw mentioned that the Bright Box had a
It was an entertainment industry mixer. It was tonight from 6 to 9.
What is that?
There was videographers, sound techs, promoters, musicians, everybody. It was a free event that they
Like,
threw. at
It was
the
just
Bright
like mix
Box
and mingle type
just to
thing.
get up there and meet people, have drinks and food.
That is cool.
Right?
So that's
Yeah, but how'd they promote that? Because I'm pissed.
I don't
I'm
think
not
they
there.
promoted it.
I was about to say we didn't hear
I
about
didn't
it
know
until
about it.
she said something about it. I'm like, Shaw, that's going on right now at 6 o'clock.
I know. My cousin sent me the link from Eventbrite. She was looking for like a comedy show, and she was like, "You and Travis should go to this."
We should download that app if
You're-
we don't already.
I'm on Eventbrite and they blow my shit up,
Yeah.
and I'm like, yo, I'm not in Atlanta anymore.
We're getting off topic.
Anyways, okay, but no, like building connections. So going to events that cater to whatever it is you're doing, I think that's a huge way. And you really got to be mixing and mingling. Like you can't just stick to yourself. Like sure, we can pull up at a hip hop event and keep to myself like I'm the best rapper. But if I'm not networking, then what am I really getting out of this? Sure, people are gonna see me rapping, but did I make any connections? Did I get farther in my career? I was out there talking with the DJ, yo, you need a hand? You need, like, I got you. Like, just chopping it up with people and just, you gotta be yourself. And honestly, you can't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone. I think that's what helps me a lot. Like, I get uncomfortable, and then I'll get myself out of it. So I'll just say something like walking past somebody on the street, hey,
Do
what's
the
up?
opposite.
Instead of just putting my head down and walking. But that's one way that I like to build connections is, you know, going to these events. Another big one would be collaborations. Outside of hip hop, I guess you really got to think about your target market and what it is you're doing. I don't know. I guess you could collaborate on a painting, but like for us, it'd be, you know, reaching out to somebody that you admire or think that is on the grind or doing good, and like, yo, you want to do a song? Or hey, let's just chop it up and talk. Like, let's share knowledge.
You see a lot of like product companies, watch companies, fashion companies doing collabs with. It's not just artists, but like
Influencers?
like creators, like musicians, all kinds of stuff like that. So it's definitely, you can do it outside of music, even if you're just making like any type of apparel. Find somebody that's skating around here. Some kid at Millbrook that's like the nastiest skater at the skate park, and like hook him up with some gear and make some dope videos and have him show all his friends. And I bet you in like a week, if you if he shares that link, all your stuff's gonna sell out.
Yeah.
So collab, definitely. That's definitely a big
Collab's
one.
a huge one.
I think
Content?
I love content. I think
I'm just kidding.
content
Go
is
ahead.
very cool. I think that people need to just look for the opportunity because it's really all around you. You can build connections through your place of work, you know what I'm saying, your place of employment. You can build connections with family, friends. It all depends on how you choose to perceive the situation that you're in. And if you're not capitalizing on those opportunities, then you're not doing your job as an artist and trying to go to the next level. Like, I can be in a scenario where it's like, and this is only because of me, I want you guys to take these factors into consideration, but I have many different areas of which I can dabble with, being with like clothing, music, marketing, promo, so on and so forth. But everywhere I go, I'm looking for opportunity and sauce, because you know what I'm saying. Got the illest sauce. Back to the topic. When I'm at my job, you know what I'm saying, I don't push it on anybody. I kind of just act like myself, normal. I don't really mention anything to anyone until the conversation kind of gets brought about, or I see the need for me to say that to someone else, you know, like maybe it'll make their perception of me a little bit different. Maybe they'll show me a little bit more respect once I say certain things, you know, like a lot of people don't know I'm on a podcast, you know what I'm saying? But I've found that every time I inform someone that I'm on a podcast, like in the next couple of days, they're like, oh shit, Logan's on a podcast. They give me a little bit more credit. And I'm not saying that in an arrogant way, but like, that's a connection that I'm developing because maybe they have a cousin who's an artist, you know what I'm saying? Or like, maybe their aunt does LuLaRoe. Y'all know who LuLaRoe is? The lady who came out with those fly-ass spandex leggings
yeah.
that
Yeah,
everybody was
pyramid
wearing.
scheme shit.
Yeah, I was about to
Yeah,
say that.
those joints, but
You never
like
know.
that's what I'm saying. The collaborations are endless, and I like what you were saying about that, because when you do certain collaborations, it doesn't always have to be a narrow mindset of like, I'm an artist, I'm gonna work with another artist, like, and we both make music. It's like Shatora. We've seen Shatora do this for years, where she's like got a bunch of different family members who have their hands in different realms of art. She makes music Takara makes physical art, you know what I'm saying? And they collab, and by doing so, somebody overseas, because Takara is very well connected overseas, is seeing what Shator's doing and vice versa. And when you have that mindset of just looking for all those opportunities and being able to capitalize on it, that's how you build connections.
I think you brought up a very good point in, telling people. You can't be afraid to tell people what you're about, because you
Totally.
never know their reaction, or like you said, who they know. You said, people don't know you as from the podcast, but you bring it up, and it's like, oh, word, well, I got so-and-so that does so-and-so, or whatever.
Ba-da-da-da-da-da.
So you can't be afraid to tell people what you're doing or this and that. And I think you brought up a very good point in, telling people. You can't be afraid to tell people what you're about, because
Totally.
you never know their reaction, or like you said, who they know. You said, people don't know you as from the podcast, but you bring it up, and it's like, oh, word, well, I got so-and-so that does so-and-so, or whatever.
Ba-da-da-da-da-da.
So you can't be afraid to tell people what you're doing or this and that, and you really got to, generate conversations and so forth. Damien, how do you go about building connections, or what advice would you give to help people build connections?
Well, I mean, it really just starts with you. I like how you guys were talking about the collaborations outside of music, because when you first brought it up, I was only really thinking of music, but I actually collaborated with a sports trainer and did some shots that I was going to do for a video.
Yep.
And the shots didn't really turn out for the video, but I
You
was
did use some, didn't you? I seen some boxing scenes. Was that a difference?
That was different.
That was different. Okay.
Yeah, same day actually, but doing that was a way to help get my brand out to other people that would have never even known about me, or would have even looked at my Instagram or Facebook or anything of that nature, just based off of me putting together some clips, putting my music behind it, and putting it online and tagging her, letting her tag me in it. So things like that are great. Like you guys were saying, just if you're not collaborating and you're just staying to yourself, I think you had said something about, you walk into a place and like, you're thinking you're the best rapper because whatever, but you don't really realize that it doesn't really necessarily matter about how good your rapping is. It's about how good you are as a person,
Exactly.
And it doesn't matter what you're doing music, if you're making sauce, it doesn't really matter, because people are going to judge you by your character. And then the people that aren't going to judge you by your character, like when you see people with all these fans and all this fame and whatnot, those people don't know you, they don't care about you, and they could care less if you're a good person. But those people don't matter, because I feel like that doesn't even come anyways until the people that are around you support you enough to want to collab with you and do things with you as a
That's a whole
as a
different
person, you know what I'm
topic.
saying? Not even as an artist, because, you guys are forming relationships with other businesses, and they're not even looking at you as musicians. You
Right.
know what I
I
mean? They have
wanna-
nothing to do with it, so.
I want to chime in, and I don't want to interrupt, but I love what you just said. It goes back to conformity. You know what I'm saying? Like, people don't base their own opinions. They don't formulate their own opinions. So they see a mass of people like, oh, we fuck with Lil Uzi Vert, or oh, we fuck with Juice WRLD. So they're like, oh man, all these kids my age are fucking with Juice WRLD. Maybe I should fuck with Juice WRLD. Instead of formulating their own opinion, like, damn, I actually like what this person is saying to me, or I actually like this style of music. They're so caught up in the conformity that it's hard for them to formulate. Sorry to get off topic.
Well, it's all in perceptions and opinions, and I feel you. One thing I did want to bring up is I remember seeing on your YouTube channel, and this goes to collaborations and diving, and a little bit on what you spoke on is collaborating outside of your expertise or whatever. You had a dancer do ballet to one of your songs, and that in turn she probably showed that to her friends and this and
Super
that
cool.
who wouldn't have otherwise heard your music.
Yeah, true. I mean, it's just about, like you said, thinking outside the box. I mean, people don't even really realize what your song means or how you really intended it to be perceived when you did it. You only know. So, putting different visuals behind it just kind of changes the song from just, something that you hear to something that you're seeing. So, just to help stick it in people's minds too.
Right.
Also, I wanted to just say this too about collaborating. I'm collaborating with this guy right here, Mike, aka Doughboy. He's one of the producers on my one of the songs I'm coming out with now. But you know, I wanted to shout out some other artists as well too. I'm trying to work with this dude Duke Chakra, man. He's from Steven City. I don't know if you guys know him.
I've seen the name.
I've
Yeah.
seen the name too. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sounds familiar.
he's a guy I'm trying to work with now. He's really exciting. We've been talking. I also work with another girl named Crystal Baby. She's from out of Maryland, Hagerstown and whatnot. Amazing singer. But we're talking about collaborations. Just wanted to talk about that. I'm definitely trying to collaborate with you guys. I've been telling you about that since
Oh
day
man,
one,
we've
so,
been talking about this.
You know, you just got to get on it.
That's been in the works for years. We just ain't got around to it.
I just want to make a comment back to what we were talking about,
Yeah.
about the making connections, right? The one point I wanted to say was that at the end of the day, as an artist, you kind of have to be your own best salesman,
Definitely.
if you understand what I mean.
You are the
Because you're the only one, besides when you start actually investing people in a team that's going to believe in you 100%.
Yep.
So you got to be the best salesman on your team, period.
Yeah.
And that's according, you know, to any standard of business. You talk to a manager, you talk to a business, like, hey, I want to be a musician at your venue, whether they take you seriously or not. It all comes down to, do you take yourself seriously or not, right? And it goes back
Of
to
course.
the levels to
The
it.
professionalism.
At the beginning, you might not understand that, but through time and error, you know.
So when you are going out and building these connections, you need to remember to be professional.
Correct.
and sell. Don't sell yourself short, but you know.
Yeah, that's a big
Sell the
important thing
experience.
about making connections. Because you ever had somebody who came up and was like, "Man, I want to make a record, I want to make a track," and then you
Buy my mixtape.
you start asking them the basic questions like, "Man, where can I hear your stuff?"
And they can't even answer.
Oh, I've
Yeah.
never made a song before.
Right.
So you realize, like, okay, like that's the level that they're at.
That's
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
As
That's
chalk
like
it up
opposed to
in your
somebody
head,
who
you're
comes
like-
in and this is my YouTube link. I'm about to have this show. I'm gonna be at this festival, March, whatever. Then you realize the level that they're at. And you know what it's like, because you guys probably have had people like, dude, I want to make a song, and then you
All the
kind of hear
time.
them out, and it's like, oh gosh.
That's like my biggest pet peeve is somebody who's so unprofessional. They send you a message like, "Yo, I want a vid." I'm like, all right, well,
Not
like,
even
give me
knowing
an
anything.
idea. Like, what you got going on? They're just like, I don't know.
It's
How
like
much?
people who
Right.
expect handouts too. Like that shit bugs me
It's-
out,
it-
bro.
it
Like
bugs
Kind of have
It's
to
like,
weed them out.
Be
a little bit.
you know
professional.
what I'm saying?
If you're good at what you do, you can be
You're a
polite at
business.
it.
If you're an artist, you're a business.
Or-
Be professional.
They want you
definitely.
to like hold their hand through the whole career. It's like nobody held my hand through this shit, bro. Like
Not a
You
thing.
treat yourself as a business,
I wanna
and that's how
say-
people will treat you, you know?
I just want to say this. I carry it like, you know, the time thing is big for me. I waste my time. But if you're going to pay me, you know, hey, it is what it is. Because I was thinking when you said that about recording, like, yeah, I know you got to know that's one of the biggest waste of times ever when people come and they're not prepared to record. I'm sure it's the same thing with videos too. But I mean, I tell people, like, when I've recorded people before and I charge them, you know, I don't even really give them input. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you don't come prepared. It's not my job to prepare you. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then I be charging people. I don't charge people for knowledge, but I'm like, man, we're not gonna sit here and
Yeah, matter of
You know
fact,
what I mean?
look
You
up
ask me a
studio
question every
etiquette.
2 seconds.
There you go.
Yeah.
Studio.
Yeah.
like, oh, it sounds
There's
great.
plenty
I
of
love it.
stuff
It's
out
good.
there.
So everything we're talking about right now is like how to not make connections.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Yeah, that's
like
true.
don't do these things
Thanks
if
for
you don't
acknowledging
want
that.
connections.
I know Shaw's got a really good one, and I got it on my list too, but I'll let you dive into it.
Yeah, I was gonna make this like a topic, but when we were talking about topics before, I was like, I think we could kind of throw this together with what you
Definitely.
got. So what I was listening to something earlier, and they were talking about engagement and how like a lot of people get on social media and they're so concerned about people engaging with them, like their likes and their comments, but like you don't know how much like leeway you can make by going on a picture, liking it, and writing a sincere comment on why you thought it was dope.
Instead
Like,
of just emojis.
instead of just putting a fire emoji or just not even, or scrolling past it. I can't tell you how many times I used to do that. I'd be like, oh, that's cool, but I wouldn't engage with their post. But when you show people love, they show that love back to you, and that's what social platforms are supposed to be for. So, like, don't ignore that. Don't be scared to go in someone's DMs and send them a genuine message about why you like their stuff. I appreciate so much when people do that.
And we've made
Same.
connections that way.
We've made a lot.
Yeah, we definitely have.
And the other thing I was going to say that I see a lot of big creators doing that I'd love to do here, even if it's on a way smaller platform, is organize creative meetups. Like Creative Ryan, YC Imaging, like they'll be like, oh, we're going to this city, like let's do a meetup. But like obviously I don't have a huge following in Philadelphia and New York, but like maybe if we posted like, hey, Winchester, we're gonna be down here trying to create something Sunday 3 p.m. If you are a creative, come through, let's make something. And you make a vlog of all these dope people that come out in Winchester that are into the same thing you're into, and then the next thing you know, you have a community of people you can hit up. If Travis is busy, oh, I met this photographer at that meetup and I know that he wants to shoot shows, let me text him and see if he's free because I have a show this weekend. Like,
So true.
that stuff is super important. So don't be afraid. Don't think just because you're not from a huge city or you don't have a huge following that doing things like that is out of your reach, because it isn't. And I definitely want to start doing more of that. So hold me accountable. Make me do that stuff.
Social media, I feel like people definitely take that one for granted. I do it myself all the time. I could be more engaging, but you know, sometimes I'm just scrolling. Yeah, as artists, I feel like a lot of people take that one for granted, and that is a huge way to build connections to people that you wouldn't otherwise run into on the streets or at these events. Like, you could literally reach anybody.
The best thing I think with like social media, like nowadays, is you can go and search in your city. People posting stuff in your city.
Oh, that's right.
Search your
Yeah.
hashtag.
Because
That
I've
is
followed
cool.
a bunch of people, like photographers and stuff, and models or whatever, from like just post Winchester, Virginia. I'm like, oh, well, maybe we'll connect one day. So I'll follow them, and you know.
Oh, that is a good point. I feel like I say this a lot, but I've taken this quote from my homie J Law at One Room Media. He says, "You can't be afraid to hear no. You can hit up 100 people, even if 99 of them say no. Maybe that one person's gonna say yes, and then you just landed a huge opportunity." So you know, not being afraid to reach out on social media to somebody who's above your level, because you don't know what response you're gonna hear back. They might leave you on red, but
What do you
that
know? You
one
didn't-
person
you
hits
didn't
you
lose
back
nothing.
and then sets
Been
you
there,
up for
done
something
that.
big.
You know how I've connected with like professional people is on social media. They'll be on live at the studio, at the show, and you know, they might not be personally talking to me because I'm in a room with like 500 other people, but that's like a window into their life that I didn't have before.
Yeah.
All of a sudden I'm looking at like Dr. Dre in his living room or something, you know,
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh snap, I get to see how one of my idols is living right now, and I have that connection, and I have that all thanks to Instagram.
Yeah,
That's great.
And I think that's a cool way to connect with people sometimes too.
100%.
And
Great way.
Yeah.
some of these people actually talk back.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and on the other side is I've seen your lives, and you post when you're live making a beat, and people can see you making a beat and how you work and be like, oh, that's dope.
Yeah.
You know, we need to work or whatever.
And it goes back to like those are the types of videos I love watching most. Is like those ones where they're making a beat on the spot.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so I see that and I want to emulate that. So I
Right,
do
yeah.
the same thing. And
Like-
if anybody likes my music, cool, thanks.
Yeah.
You know?
Doja Cat does that a lot, and I always watch her live. She just makes a beat right there and makes. A
Oh,
song,
dude, that's
so-
got an asterisk next to it.
Yeah. Got the
Because,
hugest crush.
come on, guy, that's
Yeah,
sex
we're gonna
appeal.
name
Like,
drop
of course
them.
you're gonna watch.
Nah, but it's
Doja
dope.
Cat.
Like she made like Tia and Tamara like on live.
Which is pretty
Literally.
dope.
I
Which
love
is
that
like-
song. Hey, I love Doja Cat. I'm not hating.
I was
just
watching.
saying.
I was watching that live when she was making that shit.
That's pretty
So-
lit.
Whoa, kid.
That's like history.
You guys have so many jewels in there. So many ways to build connections. Go out there, get in the world, build some connections.
Get on.
Well, what other Steven City artists we got in here tonight?
Yeah, pretty big one.
Oh,
What?
are we going in now?
I mean, you
All right, hold on,
introed
bring
it
it back.
already.
My bad. I didn't mean. I don't know. I guess we did intro. So
And then
Yeah.
tonight we got special guest in the building. Frosty came
Whoa.
through with his producer.
Dope boy.
Oh boy.
Dope boy.
Hey.
And they got a new record coming out this Halloween.
Yeah.
The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Shooting the music video. Actually, already shot the music video with T. Clem, and it is crazy. So, before we dive into the backstories and this and that, you want to talk on a little bit about The Walking Dead?
Well, now let's dive to the backstory first.
Let's do the
and
backstory
then
first.
We'll
All
get
right.
to that later.
Where did it all start?
Well,
Did it start in the gritty?
man, you know, started in Egypt, man. I used to live in Egypt.
For real?
Yeah, like
You lived
2
in
years.
Egypt?
Yeah, man. I'm actually from Alaska. That's where the name came from.
Stop. Hold on, wait a minute.
Frosty!
Hold on. we've had a lot of sarcasm today in our group chat. I just want to make sure this is real.
That's
Like,
true.
is this sarcasm or is this real?
man.
For real?
You
That's
got proper
wild.
I talk.
That's dope.
wild.
No, I
I
believe
got
you.
this from a lab.
Sarah Palin. You
understand? Yes,
I
I was
had
in the
no
mountains, man.
Word.
Damn right.
That's
where I got
crazy.
the name Frosty.
That's
Yeah.
wild.
I just
Okay.
added the Doeman to make it cool. You know?
I got you. I got you.
No, that's
you-
dope.
How'd you make your way here?
Yeah. Hold on. Wait a minute. Egypt. How old were you when you were in Egypt?
Like 12 to 14.
Okay.
Dang.
All right. Now, how did you make your way here?
So my mother works for the government, and she was married to a dude in the military, which made it even like we're
Crazier.
traveling everywhere. Yeah. So
Right.
we just ended up. I was born in Texas. Shout out to Cowboys Nation. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Anyway, out here in Redskins territory. Anyway, all my family is from Texas and Louisiana, and then my mother, she was like the one who just had to get out of town, didn't want to be a little local, wanted to get out. You know what I'm saying? See the world. So
That's good.
yep, we moved to Alaska, and then, you know, that wasn't enough for her. She wanted to see. Well, she lived overseas when she was younger, and she wanted us to have that opportunity when we were growing up as well too. So, supposed to go to Germany, but then we went to Egypt instead, and it was great. Loved it. It was really a great experience, and I think everybody should definitely go out the
Do
country.
you remember a lot from it?
Yeah, I used to speak Arabic. I can remember a lot of it, but it's
Word.
yeah.
Yo,
How old were you when you lived in Egypt again?
12 to 14.
that's cool.
That's awesome.
I think I was 15
I never
when we
knew.
left.
I've known this guy for over a decade, and I had no idea.
Had no idea either.
Yes.
And Alaska? What?
Yeah, it's
In
crazy.
Texas, that's where the Cowboys come from.
I had a feeling that was somewhere in there. I just had that feeling.
Yeah, like when I first met him, it blew my mind too, because I'm just, you know, a New Yorker. I grew up in Long Island, New York,
Right.
and never traveled anywhere, did anything like that until I moved to Virginia. So that's my simple story. It is a lot more complicated than that.
Egypt.
Here's-
Gritty.
Frosty's, you gotta pull out a map. Like I was here, I was here, I was here.
Now I'm in West Virginia.
Now I'm
Wild
here.
and wonderful.
All right, so skipping ahead a little bit, in the early years, I want to say you were in high school at the time. You were heavy on the grind in the mixtape game. In fact, I want to say that you were one of the pioneers in this area on the mixtape game.
Yeah, that
I'll
was
stand
after
for
high
that.
school.
A little bit after high school.
But yeah, for sure. I appreciate that.
When did you start recording music and doing it yourself?
Probably like 2004, when I actually started recording on, it was Cool Edit Pro. And then, like 2005, my homeboy came through from Florida and brought Magic's.
Yep.
What I use down to this day, 2005 version of it. And I think 2006 was when we dropped the Welcome to Virginia mixtape.
Yep.
And it wasn't even supposed to be a mixtape. We just had all these songs and we put them out. I was going to give it out for free. And my homie was like, man, just charge him for it. Just charge him. Just ask for $5. And I was like, all right. You know, we had the CDs and everything, so we
Yeah.
charged them and everybody bought them. I think we sold had 500 CDs. We probably sold like 200 that day. We ended up selling pretty much all of them that month.
And you had the perfect drop for it because you dropped it Apple Blossom. Right when everybody was coming into town, he was on the walking mall and everybody's walking around. Perfect timing.
Yeah.
Fun fact, I was actually on 4 songs on that mixtape.
Oh, yeah.
Good
yeah.
job.
And I
Were
was
you
a
really?
young buck. I was like 14, 15. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. Like, I say put on, but for real, Damien or Frosty was the first one to really like give me an opportunity to record around in this area. Like, I've recorded before, but like in this area, Frosty was the first one that I had recorded with.
Yeah, I don't even remember when I met you, man. I mean, I know when it was.
It was
but how
through
did I-
MySpace.
It was MySpace.
You
I was
hit me
about
up
to
through
say,
MySpace,
man.
and I was like, "Yo, you live like 2 neighborhoods
nerd.
over." Like,
Yo, can I just say this real quick?
Yeah.
Speaking of MySpace, man, that was my shit because, man, I swear to God, I hit up Nicki Minaj when she was first blowing up on MySpace, and she hit back like on some regular, you know what I'm saying, like talking about doing a show and everything, like give me her booking information, here's her booking agent, all that, you know what I'm saying? And that was before. That was social media, like really starting at its first time.
That was
you know
probably
what I'm
5 to
saying?
10
Like,
years before she popped.
yeah, but I mean, anyway, we were talking about connections. I thought about that because you were talking about hitting up people. Like now,
Yeah.
you never know who will hit you back.
Exactly.
Anyways, back to me. So, but
That's crazy.
yeah, for sure. I like what you said though because when I was doing the mixtape back in 06, there was nobody really doing mixtapes in Winchester.
That's what I'm saying. You really pioneered that shit.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean,
You know, I remember times where we even traveled out to the clubs in West Virginia, and we were brave enough to just run up to the DJ like, "Yo, play this." And I've heard this guy's music being played like at Vixens and different
Can't
clubs.
be
like
afraid
that.
to hear no.
That's awesome.
You know what I'm saying? And that's like in the early stages before we were producing actual beats and our own stuff. Like,
'Cause they were all
just hopping
mixtapes.
on like an Outkast beat or something.
Nights
I mean,
like that
when we-
are a victory. Like
Yeah.
you get your song on and you're down there and you're like,
I'm sure
all
you
your
remember that.
homies, Like, that's awesome.
yeah, man. I
And
forgot you were on that
talking
many
about the
songs,
first
too.
mixtape too, right? The first one. Yeah.
I know people who recorded for that mixtape that got cut from the mixtape. So me being a 15-year-old and getting on 4 songs, I'm like, man, that's crazy. And I was trash back then.
That's crazy.
Like, actually, that was my name. I was crazy back then.
That's why.
But on top of him pioneering the whole mixtape game in this area, he stayed consistent with him. And I think for like 3-4 consecutive years, you dropped a mixtape every Apple Blossom and had it printing up, slanging them, and it was professional. It wasn't like, I'm printing these CDs, I'm writing with Sharpie, I'm gonna print out a cover. Nah, this dude like officially pressed them up, and it was official. I still got them. One was Guns in the Car.
Guns in the Car.
He
I
actually-
can't remember the other one.
He made the cover for it.
Did
made
you?
the cover
It
for
was
it.
a sketch.
Yeah, I drew it. but
Guns
he
in the
put it
Car.
Word.
Help me. What were the other ones?
What
For Hustlers.
For Hustlers.
Yep, for the Hustlers.
The R&B Seduction.
Yeah.
Dude, I made a lot of covers for him. Yeah.
Wow.
Yo, you come a long way. What did you learn from having those experiences doing the mixtape scene?
Really just, man, there were so many things. I really can't say specifically this one thing, but I think the biggest thing I took away from that is that people will value you if you value yourself. Because my homeboy was like, sell the mixtape, and I was like, nah, I'm just gonna give it away because I was so afraid that nobody would pay for it and not just be like, you know,
Feeling bad.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? And it was like, yo, people were asking me, how much is it?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I was like, $5.
Yeah.
Oh, $5. You know what I'm saying? So, it just taught me to value myself. And then I was feeling myself after that because I just felt like, man, I can go anywhere and do this. It wasn't even like, you know, it's how hard is it to go into a crowd of people? And I'm a extrovert, so I can go and talk to people. I did sales at the time anyway, so it was nothing to just go out and sell my stuff myself. Plus, it's my stuff.
Yeah,
You
so
know what I'm
you're more
saying?
excited.
My sweat and blood. I'm sitting here. Just met this man on MySpace, and we're over here putting tracks out. And yeah, the quality was definitely not good. You know what I'm saying? But it was better than what was going on at the time, and nobody was recording on a DAW. You know what I'm saying? And
Especially local artists.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? So, and I got a lot of that stuff from being down south too, and seeing how they was running with their mixtapes and how they was actually recording and doing everything. So, you know, took a page out of that. But yeah, every year, man, I was dropping a tape. Yep.
Huge. So, how did you and Doughboy link up? Did y'all go to school together?
Yeah, I think he was.
This is what I remember. I remember meeting Frosty for the first time, like at a house party in Stevens City.
Oh yeah, there's lots of
And
those.
you know those Stevens City house parties is just beer and people bumping into each other, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I'm standing there trying to mingle, and then he walks in, and I'm like, the only dude here that looked hood.
Yeah.
So I walked straight up, and I was like, "What's up, man?" I'm like, "What's up?" You know, I'm new to town. I don't know nobody. Fresh into
By that,
Virginia.
I was the only black person in the party.
And then y'all.
And then,
There
come
is
to
a lot of
find
white
out,
people.
I had already kind of talked to him online. I had heard some of his stuff online because that was back like when SoundClick was really
oh, I
popping.
remember that. Yeah.
People still use that shit.
Yeah, I'm
I'll
on
say
it.
it didn't die off for, a couple years ago.
Yeah, in
But
the
go ahead.
SoundClick era. Oh man,
Yeah.
that was a fun era.
Yeah.
But yeah, how I met him was through a party, and I think through a mutual friend. He was like my other friend. He was like a hip hop DJ. So when he told me about Frosty, I was genuinely interested because at the time I was really into rapping and freestyling and stuff. So as soon as I found somebody with the same interests, we just kind of linked, and it helped that he lived right down the street from me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it was like I was bummed to leave New York, but then I was actually, cool with it as soon as I found somebody I can link up on. And come to find out, we had a lot of similarities as far as the type of music we really liked. And come to find out, he records. I like to record. It's been history ever
Game
since,
over.
man.
Over.
Yeah. You know, and that was when I was in high school. So that was a long, long time ago.
That's awesome.
That's super cool, man. I remember hearing Frosty's name from Eric Marvin. You know the name Eric Marvin?
Yo, he live right now.
Is he?
Well, he's on my live now.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
That's his name.
Eric Marvin.
Shout out to Eric
Shout
Marvin.
out to Eric Marvin.
Was it
Price? Yeah.
Price. That was
AKA
Oh, yeah,
Pelvis.
yeah. I've
First
heard of
time I ever
Price.
seen somebody with recording equipment was Eric.
Hey,
Marvin.
Price, what up,
It
homie?
was Price, and he had the joint like that without the eyeball on it, but it was like duct taped to the ceiling. And I was like, all right,
They're
cool.
still trying to
I
take
I was
me
like
down.
13,
Break
probably,
me down.
on the south side. I shouldn't have been on the south side.
Shout out to Price, man.
That was my problem. But
That's crazy.
yeah, I remember they were like, I was young, bro. It was before I even thought about rapping, and I remember seeing Eric Marvin, and I knew of him. I didn't really know him, but then I saw the cover for his tape that he dropped, and it had a feature from you on there, and there was a lot of controversy about your name and shit like that. And it's just funny that I just recollected that as we're speaking to you right now.
That moment.
That's cool, bro. You're a legend.
Man, that's crazy, man, because
You're famous.
that's like the perfect segue to go into what we're talking
I
about
was about to
next.
say.
Let's
So,
go.
okay. So after, staying heavy in the mixtape game, you found yourself in a little bit of trouble, we'll call it. So go ahead and elaborate on that if you would.
Yeah, so basically, we were talking about Eric. His homeboy actually told on me and got caught with some weed. I was selling weed back in the day, not gonna lie, you know what I'm saying? And dude was one of the dudes I was dealing with, you know what I'm saying? And we rapped together as well too. And I won't say his name, I'll just call him Takashi. But anyway, or Roger Rat, whatever, either way, whatever you wanna go by.
Let's go with 6ix9ine.
6ix9ine, we'll go by 6ix9ine. Maybe we'll get more clicks like that.
There
Anyway,
you go.
yeah, so basically he got caught, told on me, you know the story, you know what I'm saying? I ended up, I made some mistakes through that myself, the way I fought the case, but either way, I ended up doing like 5 years behind it and came out and everything had not completely changed, but
It was different.
yeah, the way music and media was consumed had changed a lot, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, yeah, that's pretty much how that went and, did my time and now I'm a good citizen.
So this guy was literally at the top. I would say at the top of the local artists in the area at the time. And then, got hit with some time, 5 years, comes back, and you literally started from scratch.
Yeah.
I can imagine like you coming into this world where all of a sudden social media is like a thing, and it's like you haven't been able to access it like that. Like I would be so overwhelmed. Like, oh my gosh,
Same.
what is
Well, he
all
was
this
on
stuff?
MySpace at the time, but
I was
of
on
course it
Facebook
wasn't
and
the same.
MySpace and all that. It was just, and I used to sell phones too, so I was already
Oh, so
like
you're
hip
hip
to
to that.
technology. But I never used an iPhone. Like I had iPod Touch, but I'd never really seen like the App Store and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
I wasn't out for Twitter, Instagram,
Yeah.
and like those and Snapchat. But that was the only thing I really wasn't around for. But like Facebook still to this day is like the most used social media app out. So it wasn't too bad. It was just trying to see like how do these people have all these views or what's popular, how, you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
obviously the music had changed a little bit, but all that really changed to me now that I sit back and look at it is just there's more melodies, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah.
But
It's a good way to look at it.
It is a good way to look at it. It's more catchy.
So how did you get yourself caught up? Like,
well, I was always of a positive mind state. I never let my situation define me. I didn't come home and complain about, I'm a felon, this, that, and the third. You know what I'm saying? My girl at the time, who's my wife now, shout out Tammy, she definitely held me down. It was crucial in helping me with my foundation and just getting back and not having to,
Scramble.
exactly. You know what I'm saying? My mother was there to help too, for sure, but I didn't want to have to go back to mom's house, you know what I'm saying? And Tammy was pretty much there the whole time I was locked up anyway, so we ended up getting married probably like a little bit after I got out, and then I don't know, it wasn't hard for me to really find work. I mean, I didn't find the work I wanted right at first, but it was just because I didn't know how to I don't want to say apply. It was just I wasn't applying at the right places. You know what I'm saying? Like I used to work at Verizon, so when I get out, I try to apply at Verizon, but I had to go to like smaller retailers
I
and
feel
stuff
you.
like that. But anyway, it was a little tricky, but at the end of the day, I overcame it at 3 years probation, finished the probation, And you know, I made a song called "On Top" actually, and that was more of a metaphor because I'm not on top anymore. You know what I'm saying? Compared to the times that you remember me at, but it's really more of a mind state. You know what I'm saying? You can't let it get you down because life is going to continuously bring you down. You know, you're going to lose more than you win anyway. So, you know, I was losing big, and now I feel like I can't really lose any more than I lost. So I kind of have like that mind state of like, you know, it's all or nothing. Yeah, exactly.
And the On Top music video is out now on your YouTube channel.
Yep, on SoundCloud. It's on Spotify, iTunes, all that. On Top right now. Go listen to it. Videos on YouTube. Frosty On Top. Look it up. Yeah.
I want to just make a comment. Like, what I'm a big fan of his music is that he writes his life stories in all of his songs. You know, whether he's making a joke out of it or making a clever line out of it. Knowing this guy as long as I've had, like, I could easily say a lot of it is very true. And it's looked in different perspectives and different angles, and that's what's gotten me as a fan, and eventually wanted me to definitely collaborate with him a lot more on a lot of records, you know, like the We Mobbin' and The Walking Dead and some other records that we have that's going to be released pretty soon.
That it's real.
Yeah, that it's real stuff, you know, like, and he's lived it, you know, it's stuff that you can easily look up, and, you know, it's well known around the area. And if not, you know, back in 2006, the rap game was like in a different field. I
can't even imagine.
There wasn't really as much.
It was a weird time in hip hop.
Right. If you remember back, what records were like the hit records that year,
like
that's
trash.
kind of what everybody was doing. Whereas, like, if you were just put somewhere for 5 or 6 years, come back out, it would be a hard transition back into the rap game without feeling like you have an old played out style and you know, you don't know what's popping really today. You just know what's true in your heart, you know, and that's kind of like one of the biggest reasons why I'm a big fan of his music, because it's all coming from the heart.
One thing he's never had to worry about was punchlines and wordplay and lyricism, because it was always there.
Oh yeah.
You know, and then like you said, with the storytelling and actually putting his life in, and it really helped, you know.
Yeah, when we work together, I always preach versatility. You know, don't be afraid to be outside that box, be that wild dude, be that timid guy, because, like, you have those different sides to you, why not? Right?
Show them, expose that.
Yeah. Right. I want to add on to that too real quick. It's funny that you said that, because when I was in jail, I felt like my music before I left, like 2010, was more of what was, the sound was more similar to what the music is now today. So when I went to jail, they wasn't feeling that at all. You know what I'm saying? Plus, I wasn't really like the greatest performer either, and a lot of my stuff, I'm a studio rapper, so I'm used to punching and stuff like that. But anyway, I go to jail and they're like, nah, you gotta come with it. You know what I'm saying? So like, the song that we're talking about now, The Walking Dead, that's coming out, I felt like, man, that's like a song that dudes in jail be feeling, because it's lyrical and it's just aggressive and whatnot. But I felt like, almost like I stepped back. You know what I'm saying? Even though like I wrote that song probably like 2 years ago, and I knew what was going on in the music climate, I was like, man, this is more like an older, I don't even say old school, because there's still hip hop out there, but it's like, it's not in the forefront as much as you see now. You know what I'm saying? So that experience really led me to come up with that song, because when I came out, I was like, I even have a line in there where it's like, King back, sling crack all over the town, it gets deep and I hope you drown. Like, just coming back and seeing, you know, what's going on, and feeling like, damn, I gotta get back to where I was at before. I gotta get my throne back, metaphorically, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because, you know, they don't respect you unless you're at a certain level anymore. And you know what I'm saying? Like, I was at that level, you know what I'm saying, before that the social media climate started, you know what I'm saying, and that all got taken away. So I kind of have a chip on my shoulder, like, man, I see this dude out here doing it, and not hating, you know what I'm saying, but more like motivation, because now I can look and see, oh, they did it like this, oh, that's how they did it, okay, cool. So now it's like, man, my perspective is just, it's so much wider now than it used to be.
Yeah.
You know, I really like the way the game is now, to be
Right?
honest.
It's probably a good thing. It probably leaves you a lot of open doors for things that you can put your foot into that you might not have done before, because you might have been like, nah, that's not my lane.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for
because
sure.
you had that chip on the shoulder or that.
I feel like 2019 too, so many opportunities to just research and find this stuff out. Whereas like back then, we just assumed you needed a record deal,
Yeah. Yeah.
and everything was just like A game, A plus every single time, even if it's just rhyming for one person, because you wanted that deal, because then everything will come. Whereas now you can easily achieve a lot of that stuff without that,
Yeah.
without signing something away. And now that we realize that, yeah, we're definitely pushing our stuff to the front now, for sure. You know, polishing these diamonds, ready to go.
There you go.
Exactly. what it is.
Before we dive into the new music and what you got coming, I wanna ask what advice you would give to somebody who is getting out from doing a bid of some time, and what advice you could give them to help get acclimated back into the real world.
Man, just your mindset. You're gonna have to deal with a lot of. Well, it depends on how long you were locked up to. But if somebody was locked up for the amount of time I was locked up or longer, just be patient. You know, you're not gonna get everything. You know, in the first month, the first year, the first couple years. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you've been down for a minute. But you know, just be patient. Don't get discouraged, because that's how a lot of dudes end up getting caught back up, because you're gonna be on probation or parole most likely. And you know, I know you've seen all the stories, Meek Mill, this person, that person. It's like probation is anyway. You just have to be in the right mind state. You can't be impatient, because I know I was impatient for a part of that. Like, man, I wish I could travel more and do this, and you know what I'm saying, not have to worry about drug tests and stuff like that. But you know, anyway, there's a lot of other things I could say to.
So keep a positive
Mindset.
mindset.
Yeah.
That's
But,
awesome. That's good.
Also,
Something
shout out to
to think
Marinol. Y'all know what that is. Don't worry about it. Shout out to Marinol.
There we
Heard
go.
that.
There we
Heard
go.
that.
Well, all right, so let's dive into some more current events and what you got coming up. So I know you and Doughboy been cooking up a lot of music, and you got the music video coming out. Let's start with the music video and The Walking Dead. How did the song come about? Like, did the beat come up and then you was just like, all right, bet I'm about to write this, or did you have the idea and was like, hey, sample this, or how did that start?
Man, it's funny. We were talking about being in jail, right? So I had a TV in my jail cell. You know what I'm saying? Watched a lot of TV. Put it like that. And we had AMC, and they played The Walking Dead, right? And I hate that show, right?
Oh, you hate it?
Hate it. I mean, I watched it because I was in jail, but I'm like one of them type people. If you ever get around me, I'm like very critical about perfection. Yeah, like I have to make it the way I want it to be. So when I'm watching the show, I'm like, you know, I would do this different, I would do this different. This is for kids. This is like a kid show, you know what I'm saying? But they had these marathons that would come on back to back to back. You know how AMC is, like with the with the Breaking Bad. So, and they keep coming out with new shit. Even now, they're coming out with new episodes and shit. It's crazy. Anyway, the theme song would come on every time, and I'm like, I hear it, never thought about making a beat out of it, you know what I'm saying? And then just one day, I'm out of jail, working, and I'm like, yo, I love the violins and the piano in that shit. That would be a dope beat. So I hit up my homeboy Doughboy. I'm like, yo, man, listen, you ever heard of The Walking Dead? He heard of it, but he ain't never really seen the show. I'm like, yo, look, go listen to this. Tell me what you can do with it. And to be honest with you, when I ask him to make a beat, you can ask him. We do not be getting along. We be having different ideas. I'll be like, nah, I want it like this. He'll do it like this, and then I'll be like, nah, I don't even like that. It sounds, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So when I gave him the idea for the beat, I didn't even have any expectations. I was completely just open, because I went and listened to some other beats on YouTube. They're trash, you know what I mean? So when he came out with that beat and he came up, I was like, bro, what did you do? Like, this is crazy. Like, I mean, if you really listen to it, which I know a lot of people won't really take the time to listen to the instrumental, and I get it, you know what I'm saying? But I did it. It's my baby. It's his baby. So just listening to the instrumental itself, it's like a freaking, it's an orchestra. You know what I'm saying? Like, the way he freaked it, it's like, never heard a beat like that. There's no beats out there like that right now. I mean, it's like, it's a movie beat. You could put that on a score or a
Definitely not a
soundtrack.
loop.
Can I comment on the beat maker side?
No,
For all
you
my
can't.
producers
You're not
out
allowed.
there, for all my beat makers, right?
Yeah.
So my whole come up, the beat styles that I used to make were all influenced by like The Alchemist. I used to love sampling and making dope with like hardcore hip hop records for years and years and years, right? So until I finally got confident in that, that's when I started trying other stuff. And then what got me to try other stuff were beat battles.
Okay.
And what's cool about beat battles is you don't really have to leave home. There's a lot of online ones. So shout out to illmusic.com, because through them and a history of battling awesome producers all over the world, I got this trend of sampling stuff and then doing what's called like a flip, flipping it, making it sound completely different from the original arrangement and composition, right? So that's what I did. I took the sample and I just flipped it up, timed it. The drums kind of came to me, and just working with this guy and knowing how crazy it is about the beat having to be right, because he just has his own particular sound and style, right? Knowing his background and knowing the certain sounds and stuff that he likes, the beat came along, but like he said, we had to like mend our heads together and really gel this into what you hear today. Because like what you hear today, the final beat isn't what I originally made. Like, it was in bits and pieces, and we had to sit there and be like, dude, now this here goes there, this here goes there. And with Fruity Loops, you can do whatever I want. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
That's cool.
the beat is a mix between sampling, old school hip hop sampling, but then I also do throw in 808s and have synth sounds and instruments on it, because we both like records to feel like a big show. Even though it's a studio record, when you hear it, I want that effect to hit you, like all the percussion, the stuff, to sound like you're in front of a drummer or a show or whatever. And that show, I mean, I didn't have any expectations either. It's the first beat he ever asked me to be like, dude, make whatever you want. And I was like, cool.
Going for it.
You know what I'm saying? And I made it, cater to his style, but then also what I thought was dope with all the effects and stuff you hear too. And I mean, when he came back with me and was like, I love that track, I was like, stop fucking with me, bro. You know what I'm saying? I was expecting some kind of like, that's trash, because I've heard that out of his mouth before. Like, that beat sucked, right?
So you guys having the prior history of working together helped you finesse that beat in the way that
he just started making beats. He was a rapper to me. He just started making beats, man. I was there with him from day one and was like, no, this ain't it. You know what I'm saying? To this. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah. And I told him I always appreciated that. You know what I'm saying? Because nobody just wants a yes man on your team.
Oh no.
Totally.
I mean, if that's what you want, how you supposed to elevate, right?
I tell Brandon he fucks up every
So I tell him all the time, dude, when I'm slipping, you tell me.
Yeah, we know you do.
When I'm slipping, you be managing, you tell me, bro, you're slipping. That's what I expect. And he expects the same back. And we found a way where we can do it and not kill each other.
There you go.
for sure. Also, too, just to talk about the video a little bit more and how it relates to the song and how it all came about. So we were coming up with the Walking Dead theme. I was thinking, how can I make this a visual? What would make sense? And I just kept going with the Walking Dead. We actually were thinking of doing something like, not Thriller, but that's what my main idea was. I think when we were talking about it at first, I wanted something kind of like that. But anyway, what I ended up, the idea was, in the song I'm talking about, really, mumble rappers and that hip hop that I dislike. You know what I mean? This that low quality music. You know what I'm saying? Because I like some mumble rap, but I wanted to kind of put some characters in there that would kind of make the point driven home a little bit harder. So I have like a Tekashi 6ix9ine character in there. We did, I think, Cardi B and Lil Pump, but the only one you can really tell is the 6ix9ine one, just because of the hair and whatnot, which is your brother. Shout out to Dominique. Yeah, he definitely.
Let me tell you why did he send me a snap of him in that wig, and I was like, bro, I hate to break it to you, but you look like him.
He did look like him.
Really did.
He was like,
I told him he was a superstar. He looked just like him, for real.
And those tattoos came out good.
Yeah.
But definitely had to put him in there just because he's snitching and he's one of the rappers I just hate. So
I was about to say, I mean, that kind of plays into your come up and why you got in trouble and stuff. So that the snitching aspect kind of plays into it from the Walking Dead video.
Yeah, for sure.
Which I think is dope. So when's the video dropping?
Halloween. 10/31.
Mark your
October
calendar.
31st.
Big whoa.
Should be easy to remember.
There you go.
All right, so aside from the Walking Dead music video and the single, what else do we have to look forward to from Frosty?
Man, I got collabs galore. I've got so much content right now. It wouldn't even be fair to really tell you what it is, man. I've got another video lined up. This project I'm dropping right now, it's actually an EP. It's going to be called Murder Season. And The Walking Dead is just the first song coming out. I was thinking about dropping the whole project at one time, but I think I'm going to just do it in singles. It's still going to be an EP, but it's going to be just more content like that. That way I can promote every track the way it's supposed to be.
So Murder Season, when we shooting for it?
Well, it's gonna be this is 1031, man. This is
1031 is the start of it all.
Yeah, volume 1. Let's go.
That's big. That's big. Can we expect more Doughboy on the project? Already.
Oh yeah.
Big whoa.
He just gives a nod.
He's like,
Yeah.
yep.
I'm glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, for sure. I'm glad you guys helped me out with this
Well,
vision.
go ahead and tell them where they can find you at on social media. Give some shout outs.
For sure, man. You can find me on Instagram. It's Frosty ITSFORSTYY. You can find me on Facebook, Frosty The Doeman, DOEMAN. And you can find me on YouTube, man. If you just look me up on YouTube, Frosty The Doeman. And then I think my YouTube is actually Doeman Music Group. DMG Media Group, yeah. So Instagram is probably the easiest way. It's Frosty with 2 Y's. Holla at me. Doughboy, where you at?
Yeah, if you want to holler at me for beats or just check out my music, you can go on any platform, search up Doughboy the Producer. Simple as that.
There you
Instagram is my home. Hashtag Doughboy the Producer. DMV Producers. Shout out to Ill Music. I hope y'all like the record. 1031 Walking Dead records coming out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
All of that.
The Walking Dead, dropping Halloween, Frosty in the building, Doughboy in the building. We are the Iron Skillet. You know what it is.
Peace.